Yeah.
Welcome to the Barbados Rally Club's Shakedown Stages, the coverage of which is brought to you by the kind sponsorship of Rock Hard Cement, VP Fuels and Vision Equipment Supplies. 60 teams would start this running of the Shakedown Stages event. This event would represent round 3 of the club's championship, which would give competitors and spectators a taste of what was to come for the upcoming BCIC Rally Barbados event in a few weeks' time. Rally 2 and Super Modified 2 would stack up as some of the most subscribed classes with a packed level of competitors, some getting their feet wet for this event. Spectators were in for a treat as part of the 26 kilometers of competitive stage mileage. The Swans to Rockhall stage and Springvale to White Hill had not been used for some years, offering some variety to the season's calendar. Going into this event, the club has a 4-way battle for the Drivers' Championship. One such driver in the running was young David Anthony Balgobin. Here is what he had to say about his chances this season.
The most fun and the most stressful situations I've ever been in. And the guys are always fun to drive against. They're really fast. I would say it's the most competitive group. And yeah, it's just a blast all the time. I'm definitely going to be putting my focus on the Rally Club Championship. You know, my head was going with Vaucluse, Bimmer Cup, all the different championships that I'm in. But know that this year, especially since last year, I was so far behind. But this year, know that I'm up there, definitely looking towards.
Another driver in the 4-way fight was Clubman 3 driver Kevin Armstrong, who also gave us his perspective on this season thus far.
To be very honest, it was just coming out and enjoying myself. That is still the goal. But once the car stays reliable, yeah, we'll be going for the championship for sure. I'm not concerned, just drive it as I see it, to be very honest. Sailor Gully is probably the only one that I'm familiar with. So the other two, for sure, for the first loop, taking it cautious, and then we will see where we stand from there. If we might push a little or just be satisfied.
The importance of the event to the upcoming international events also drew the participation of competitors who we hadn't seen on the rallying scene for some time, as in the case of Jamaican Tarek Minot, who had recently acquired a Rally 2 Fiesta, and also the return of David Husbands, this time in a Volkswagen Polo R5. This year's Shakedown Stages would consist of 9 stages, which would see the return of some special stages not used since the early 2000s to the delight of many. Now let's have a look at the top 10 up to stage 6 and then the top 10 after the last stage with the class winners of each class. First up and 10th overall was Andrew Malalieu and Jeff Goddard in their Ford Fiesta R5, whose best performance would be a 7th fastest time on Special Stage 2. With British rally ace Matt Edwards on the notes, Paul Horton would work his way up to 9th overall by the Special Stage 6 halt. Fastest in 2-wheel drive and 8th overall by the lunch halt would be Rhett Watson and Andrew Crowley, who were really putting it to the R5s for most of the morning. With an unusual set of times for most of the morning, Adam Malalieu and veteran co-driver Steve McNulty would only be able to make it up to 7th after Special Stage 6. He's called Mr. Consistency for a reason. Roger Hill would secure 3/6 fastest time on 3 of the 5 morning stages to finish 6th at the lunch halt. Coming into this event, Mark Maloney told us he was going to give it a big push in the first loop, and this approach got him and Justin Maloney in the top 5. With a stage win and 2 top 3 fastest stage times, Rob Swan and Tom Woodburn would end the morning session 4th overall. Though no stage wins, being quick when they needed to be would see the pair of Jeffrey Panton and Michael Fennell Jr. third by the lunch halt. One stage win and 1.53 seconds off of first overall, Kyle Gregg and Ori Hunt would set themselves up for an epic battle in the afternoon. Three stage wins out of 5 stage starts would set the mark at which anyone would have to meet to catch the pair of Stuart Maloney and Christian Yearwood, who would admit they would have wanted to go into the afternoon battle with a larger buffer. With there being a serious spectator incident on Special Stage 2, reminding everyone of the dangers of motorsport, the second loop of that stage was cancelled to address all concerns prior to it being reopened. Now let's have a look at the top 10 teams. Leading the way would be Kyle Gill and Jared Gill in their Mitsubishi Mirage, who would take the Clubman 1 win. With a commanding lead and redeeming himself from earlier events, Chris Hode would secure a win in the hotly contested Clubman 2 group. Despite incurring a penalty during the afternoon loop, the pair of Kevin Armstrong and Karem Gaskin would secure a Clubman 3 win and much needed points to stay in the running of the Drivers' Champion fight. A class lead of more than 8 seconds, Sharif Walcott and Justin Lynch would end the day pleased with their performance. The Battle of the Corbins would see Neil Corbin and Jeremy Gonzalez coming out on top for the class win in Modified 2. Sole finisher, in Modified 4 but putting down some blistering times throughout the day, would be Kurt Thompson and Adam Straker. First in Modified 1 would be Edward Corbin and Jonathan Allen, who didn't seem to put a foot wrong for the entire day. Now let's have a look at the top 10 teams. First up would be Paul Horton and Matt Edwards, who would end the day 10th overall in their Citroën C3. In an epic drive in the afternoon stint, George Sherman and Scott Pinheiro would finish 9th overall in what would be one of their best performances to date. With much improvement from the morning stint, the pair of Andrew Malalieu and Jeff Goddard would finish 8th overall. 7th overall and first in Super Modified 2 to end the day would be Rhett Watson and Andrew Croney, which would extend their pursuit for the 2025 Drivers' title. Three 7th-place stage finishes in the afternoon loop would put Roger Hill and Graham Gittins 6th overall at the end of the day. Maintaining a top 5 position from the morning loops would be a solid outcome for the pair of Mark and Justin Maloney. Notwithstanding a mega push on Special Stage 1 to secure a stage win, Rob Swan and Tom Woodburn would fall one shy of a podium this time around. 3rd overall and putting in a dominant performance to keep all at the top end on their toes would be the pair of Jeffrey Panton and Michael Fennell Jr. With 2 stage wins in the afternoon, one more than any other driver would just not be good enough to secure 1st overall for Kyle Gregg and Ori Hunt. But the two would be able to go away knowing how ready they were for the upcoming events. By 0.53 of a second, 1st overall with 5 stage wins and never dropping below a podium finish on each stage would be the pair of Stuart Maloney and Christian Yearwood. What an action-packed filled day, and this one will have most talking for some time. Thank you for watching, like and subscribe to our page. See you on the stages.